So let's have a little chat, shall we? Let's have a little occult chat. This is your host, The Occult View, aka My Occult View. Y'all know by now I had to create a second backup page because, of hateration from YouTube or, just people in the background who don't like what I'm saying, which I don't care anything about that. I'm going to keep doing me and doing what I'm supposed to be here to do, which is speak on occultism and things that are going on. So let's have a little chat. I had a conversation with spirit last night, my spirit. And you know, the more and more you talk to your own spirit, the more and more you are less there's less of a need to talk to other spirits outside of you because your spirit can give you more of what you need than anything else outside of you. You feel what I'm saying? I know that I report on the state of the world and the things that are happening in the world. I do report on those things. I do. But that's only to satisfy a certain sector of people. So people can have an understanding of what's going on in front of them. But make no mistake about it, I understand illusion. I understand the magician's trick to make you think something is going on. And right now, we're up under a hypnotic illusion. We're under hypnotic illusions and delusions as well. Okay? I did a reading on the state of the world and I asked Spirit to show me some things. And what Spirit showed me was this: no matter what we are seeing in front of us, or what it may appear that we are experiencing in the physical world, we have to understand something, that our personal individual experiences are based upon our interpretation of reality or the individual reality that we choose to have while we're here in the physical world. And that makes a lot of sense. Because I'm going to tell you something. Even with all of the shenanigans that are going on in the world, all of the illusions and the delusions, but see, I can see past them. I'm not fooled by that trickery. You see, just like last month when everyone claimed to have heard that sonic boom here in the DC area from a plane or warplane or something like that, I didn't feel it nor did I hear it. I didn't feel or hear anything. If it happened and I just didn't hear it, I'm surprised, but I'm very, very sensitive when it comes to hearing or feeling things because I'm a sensitive person spiritually, right? But I didn't feel anything. So that kind of gives some credit to the theory, I guess you could say, that we're all in our own quantum type of reality. And we don't experience exactly the same thing at the same time because we're in our own realities and our interpretation of certain things may be different than our fellow brothers and sisters. Let's just say that, okay? So here's what I'm really trying to say. We live in a world of illusions. And the illusion right now is that everything is going to hell in a handbasket. The world is in total chaos. People are dying suddenly. There's crime everywhere. There's misery everywhere. And it just seems like there's no reprieve. We don't get a break. It just seems like negativity has really taken over. But my question is that really what's happening? Or is that simply the interpretation that we are being manipulated to believe based upon what has been going on for the past 3 or 4 years? We just came out of a major so-called pandemic where people were dying of this disease. And that really set the ground and it laid the groundwork for this new illusion, or not new illusion, but this illusion that we're living up under now. Crime, mayhem, chaos, murder, all of these deaths. I just read that Quad from Married to Medicine, her small niece died drowned in a swimming pool at Quad's house. Then I read that the chef that works for the Obamas, he died in a paddling accident and drowned. Like, really, what's going on? And you have to ask yourself this question. Why does the media and the news, why do they pump out so much negativity? What do they gain from that? I'll tell you what they gain. They gain more control over the minds of the masses of people. They gain more control over your emotions. They gain more control over your actions. They can make you depressed. They can make you feel oppressed. They can make you feel disenfranchised. But see, we as the masses, we have to change our, I want to say our consciousness in a sense. And we have to shift it into another layer of thinking. Because this is what I'm talking about right here. The world is not as bad as they're trying to make us believe. How about that? How about the world is not going to hell in a handbasket like people have tried to make us believe? How about that? How about that's all part of the magician's trick? That's all part of the illusion. While the people who are in on the illusion, they're all smiles and going to the beach and enjoying their lives. You know, all of the people that are in on the illusion, you know, the government, the politicians, the celebrities, which celebrities and politicians are really the same thing. Celebrities and politicians are really the same thing. That is why whenever I look at The View, the few times I look at The View, I listen to Whoopi Goldberg. She knows everyone in politics. She knows everyone in politics. That's because they all come out of the same beast. They all come from the same beast of thinking. I'm not talking about a literal beast. I'm talking about an energy. Thinking and thoughts are energies. They come from a certain thought and a certain energy. Politicians, actors, you know, musicians, sports people, doesn't matter. They come from the same process of thinking, which is a beast. That's the real beast. And every day it's some big apocalyptic problem that we have to worry about. Even here on YouTube. Every day you see someone posting some fear mongering video. I saw some guy post a video not long ago talking about they're poisoning the meat at Walmart, telling people not to eat the meat at Walmart. Why would they only be poisoning? I don't know. I'm playing devil's advocate, I guess. But why would they only be poisoning the meat at Walmart? Why Walmart? I guess they don't want people to eat meat anymore, right? And these very same people that do these things, they're making thousands upon thousands of dollars. It's like the Jim Jones effect. Remember the cult leader Jim Jones? He had his cult leaders living in a reality of not shame, I'm sorry, of fear. They were living in a reality of paranoia, control. He had those people thinking that the world was going to be destroyed by a nuclear weapon if they did not move with him to Guyana. They were all going to be killed in a nuclear holocaust. And that was back in the 60s and the 70s. He told those people that if they did not drink that Kool-Aid, which was actually enforced on them anyway, but if they didn't drink the Kool-Aid, that cyanide-laced Kool-Aid, that the United States government, the CIA, was going to come in and murder all of them. He was telling this to his followers. It's the Jim Jones effect all over again. And I've talked about him extensively on my other channel because it's all about presenting an illusion and executing it to get you up under their control so they can control who you fuck. Excuse my language. They can control who you are attracted to. They can control what you eat, like with all this veganism agenda. They can control who you like as friends. They tell you don't like this type of person, like that type of person. Now, that's just like it says in certain, even going, I'm going to be honest with you, even going as far as looking at the compatibilities between certain zodiac signs. I'm a Virgo. I am not supposed to be compatible with Geminis. But Gemini men seem to be the ones that understand me the most. Hence my friend Christopher Barry. Gemini men seem to be the ones that understand. I'm not supposed to be compatible with Libras either, but Libra men seem to understand me the most. I'm just keeping it real. So what's up with all this hypnotism and hypnotic illusions? What's up with that? They tell you who you should be compatible with because they're trying to create another disease on top of a disease. And the disease that they're trying to create is the disease of perfection. Boom. See, when people think of perfection, they think of everything being in balance, in a certain balance. But in actuality, perfection is a disease. Because nothing is supposed to be so perfect that it does not have any imperfections. And I know that's a little bit above what most people understand in some ways, and I get that. And I'm not saying that to be derogatory. But if you really look at the world now, there's an illusion that everyone should be perfect or everyone is perfect in that fake world called Hollywood. Because Hollywood is fake. The world of politics is fake. The government is fake. That's all fake. But we believe it because we've been hypnotically conditioned to believe everything that they tell us. But then I had to start looking around at what actually was going on in my own universe and in my own world. And let me tell you what's happening in my own personal reality. I see happiness. I see joy. I see people healed and healing, myself included. I see people doing inner spiritual work, finding healing within themselves. I see people living longer, although they're saying everyone's getting sick and everyone's dying. But that's not what I'm seeing in my reality, because I dictate my reality. They don't dictate my reality for the most part. I dictate what I want to see. I dictate what I want to experience. And that's what I'm trying to get across to the people that watch me. You have the power to dictate what you want to see and what you want to experience. But you have to unplug from what you think you know and what you think you're seeing. Because everything that you're seeing is not of a real nature. And nobody asks questions anymore. We just believe. When you hear people say things like, we all have to believe, you need to really take a good look at that person and really figure out, is that something that is best for you? Because my question is, when you say that, oh, we have to believe, we have to do this, we have to believe, when I think of someone who says that, and I'm talking about believing in those things which are outside of yourself, or believing in a leader, a human leader. When I think of things like that, and when I see things like that, that is what makes me think Antichrist type of energy. Because let's be honest, there are many different types of Antichrist. In this concept, the Antichrist is when you don't internalize, when you don't go within yourself and follow your own spiritual guidance and your own spiritual path, and you follow the guidance of the illusions that are put in front of you. Like a lot of these celebrities, like a lot of these so-called YouTube celebrities, like a lot of these so-called fake spiritual YouTube gurus as well. And I'm talking about the ones who are well known. That is the Antichrist right there. Anything that takes you away from who you are, which is the enlightened Christ, which resides within you. You just have to activate it. You are the returned Christ. Anything that takes your attention away from that is Antichrist, especially when it's trying to cipher off of your energy. That is Antichrist. See, when you do the inner work, when you do the inner childhood work, and when you do the inner work that they talk about, healing the wounded or traumatized child within you, that is when things will really start to make sense. I even had to take a step back, and I had to reevaluate some things that I even thought about, that I even thought were the truth. The world is not in a bad state. There's nothing wrong with this world. There's something wrong with the people in this world. But the world itself is not in a bad state. They want us to believe that everything is negative. They want us to believe that everything is horrible. Of course, there are things that are happening in the world that are not good. But we live in a world of polarity. And there is good and there is bad. There is negative and there's positive. But like I've always said, negative and positive, they're supposed to balance each other out. But see, we have been up under the illusion for many eons by institutions that negative means evil, or that it means bad, that negative energy means let me rephrase that. The negative energy means evil, or negative energy means bad, but negative energy is just the polarity of positive energy. They're really the same thing. Let me give you a better example of what I'm talking about. In the movie The Craft, when the young girls go to the witchcraft shop or the magic shop, the witch that was there, Lirio, she told them true magic is neither black nor white. It's both, because even in nature, nature is both. It's loving and cruel all at the same time. The only good or bad is in the heart of the witch. And that has remnants of truth to it as it pertains to negative and positive energy. People use negative energy and negative frequencies for their own nefarious, sinister purposes. And that is where we're at now in the state of the world. And they use the media. They use YouTube. They use different YouTubers for this type of agenda to promote negativity and toxicity from the highest to the lowest on the totem pole. Doesn't matter. But does that mean that the world is bad? That the entire world has gone to hell in the handbasket? Oh no. But that's the belief that they want us to have. It's the same thing with politicians. They use a form of neurolinguistics, and neurolinguistics in layman terms is a form of a spell work in language that hypnotizes you into believing and drawing you into what they want you to do and what they want you to believe. And we've all been influenced by that at one time or another, or at least some of us. Just like with politicians. The Democrats tell you that the Republicans are bad, but the Republicans tell you that the Democrats are bad. It's like a constant pull between negative and positive energies and polarities. You feel what I'm saying? But in actuality, both parties have sinister aspects of them that are not doing anything good for the American people, and they both are part of the illusion of the Antichrist, which the Antichrist is taking you away from your spiritual path. It's taking you away from your generic spirit, not your generic, I'm sorry, your authentic self. Your authentic spiritual path, which is taking that journey within you. And they have taken people away from that. They don't want you to be a spiritual person. They don't want you to follow your own spirit. They want you to follow them because they are the Antichrist. That is why I've been going back watching those old movies, The Omen, to get a better perspective of this energy, because it all ties in. So when I did the reading on the state of the world, it showed me many different things. It showed me justice, and it showed me a cycle. And that a lot of the things that are happening now, it is because it is justice. And justice will continue to take form. See, the thing is that we have been so blinded by negativity and lies and illusions that we don't see the good that's happening. And what's happening is that the haves and the ones who've had and the ones who've stolen and taken, who've done all of these nefarious things, who have used negative frequencies to harm people, let's just say it that way, those people are going to get their justice. And the cycle has been flipped, where those who have not had are going to have. It's all a cycle. But because we've been tricked by the magician's trick, the magicians, the politicians who are the magicians, the celebrities who are the magicians, we've been tricked into believing that they have everything. They have nothing. They have nothing without us. We are the ones who put the money in their pockets. We are the ones who make them rich. We are the ones who make them relevant. And we're the ones buying into the illusion. You have to take the sun, you have to take the glasses off and just look at it for what it is. We've been bamboozled. And we've been bamboozled so much, as my late great friend Miss Marie would say, we've been bamboozled so much that we can't even see the good in the world anymore. We can't even see the good in ourselves anymore because we are so focused on the illusion that everything is bad, that everything is negative. We're so focused on that. And Spirit is saying to us is that we have to redirect our focus and see what's really going on. Because like I said, when I look around me, I see people living longer. I see people living healthier. I see people that are happy. Of course, there's going to be negative people. Of course, there's going to be negative, demonic, disgusting people. We get that. But for the most part, I see happiness. I see joy. I see justice. I see prosperity. And I see goodness. So all of these horrible things that people are telling us that are happening, and I'm looking in my reality and I'm like, well, wait a minute. That's not happening in my reality. And Spirit said, that's because you don't focus on that. And I said, oh, okay. Now that makes sense. See, they don't want us to focus on the fact that a lot of them, and when I say them, I'm talking about the so-called people that are pulling the strings. They ain't pulling my string. And they may not even be pulling y'all's string. But the people who string, the so-called people that think they pulling the strings, a lot of those people are coming to justice. Justice is being brought to them. And they're getting their so-called karma. Now, I like to say they are reaping the ramifications of their actions versus saying karma because everybody says karma, and I just like to be different. They are reaping the benefits of their ramifications. And I think that is the real karma. When you put certain frequencies out into the universe, and when you participate in certain behaviors, then you're going to get back whatever you put out. That's a natural quantum law. Whatever you put out, you will get back. But we've been so blinded by COVID, deaths, mayhem, crime, murder, everything that they're bombarding us with to control us and to keep us in a fear-based mentality. Or if you don't get the three things in your arm, the three jabs in your arm, if you don't get that, you're gonna die. If you do get it, you're gonna die. That's just like recently, Elise Finch. She was a weather person or news person, I think out of New York. She died suddenly, right? And everyone is jumping on this died suddenly, bandwagon as it pertains to the vaccine. And you can tell that a lot of these people are not really emotionally intelligent. Because let me tell you something. They said from what I'm understanding, she died from an aneurysm, a ruptured what do they call it? A ruptured blood vessel in her brain, an aneurysm. And when I read what brought on, I'm sorry, when I read what can bring on an aneurysm suddenly, one of the things that stuck out to me was head trauma, blunt force trauma to the head. But everyone is so obsessed with people dying suddenly because of the vaccine. And that's also part of the illusion because nobody else is, people are not looking at the other things that can be going on in this world that you're ignoring. I started to do a video about this the other day, but it was just too long. But let me drop this. This is something else Spirit revealed to me. JFK, the former president, we all know he was assassinated in 1963. But how come no one never really asked any questions about how anyone that had, well, certain people, let's just say that, certain people who had a connection to him, they ended up dead as well. Let's go down the list. Let's go down the list. We all know Marilyn Monroe. She died a year before he did. Jane Mansfield. Dorothy Dandridge. Oh, yes. Dorothy Dandridge was messing with JFK too, allegedly. We all know she was messing with Peter Lawford, who was related to the Kennedys. We know that. Martin Luther King. Dorothy Kilgallen. Hedda Hopper. All of these people had some type of connection to JFK, and they either died right before he was assassinated or they died not long after he was assassinated. What was the real reason? Here's where what I really want to know. What is the real reason that JFK was assassinated? A lot of people say, well, he knew too much. His family was involved with, the underworld, meaning gang stuff, or mobster stuff. Well, whatever. I get that. I mean, I get that. I get it. But let's really have a conversation. Let's really have a conversation. Shit, I got a text. I feel like JFK was assassinated because he was getting ready to reveal that a lot of the things that we were being bamboozled by were really orchestrated agendas used to control our minds and to keep us locked down into a certain frequency. Now, he was not going to say it the way that I'm saying it, but I think he was basically going to say that there's a lot of shit that we think is real and it's really not. And Here's what I think. I think that he was going to tell the world. I'm sorry, I got a little bit sidetracked. He was going to tell the world, tell the United States, tell the American people that you've been lied to. You have bought into different agendas. For example, the civil rights movement, which was starting around that time in the early 60s. You've bought into this. You've been told that they're aliens, another agenda based, fear based, false ideology. I think he was going to tell that Roswell, New Mexico, that whole alien story was on cap and bullshit. And I think he was going to tell people that the real distraction is to keep you from interacting with your own spirit and your own consciousness. Now, again, he would not have said it that way in 1963, but I'm interpreting it as that is what he meant to say. That the American people had been bamboozled and lied to and have been pitted against each other for political reasons. And I think he was going to say that neither party had the best interest of the American people at heart. That both parties were working against the American people and using the American people as pawns to get to where we're at today. This big, great illusion, because even though things were fucked up back then, at least back then people would get up, go protest. Isn't it funny, too, that 5 years after JFK was assassinated, that is when the hippie movement started after that? Isn't that interesting, too? But see, nobody asked these questions. The hippie movement was another illusion. That was another illusion that was orchestrated for agenda-based purposes. Charles Manson was a government orchestrated person, from what I've been told. And there's even some allegations that he really and truthfully never killed anyone. The murders that they say he committed or his followers committed, they didn't commit or something like that. I don't know. But it leaves a question mark. Helter skelter, right? You see how this illusion and these illusions have shaped the world that we're in now, the magician's trick. Just like now, everyone is focused on this Carly, what's her name? Carly Russell person who lied about being kidnapped. But what they're showing you, what people are not peeping, what they're really showing you, they're showing you right there what the world is really built on, which is illusions, lies, and deception. They're showing you that right there. That's a prime example of what I'm talking about. Let me tell you this story. I remember, and I've told this before. There was an actual picture of a white guy who was standing over a black child's what appeared to be a black young boy's body in Africa, and this white guy was standing over his body with a machine gun. And before people even asked any questions, they assumed that he had murdered the young guy, the young black boy. They thought he had murdered the young man. The boy looked like he could have been no more than, what, 6, 7, you know? So I did some research and come to find out that white man was from Europe. He paid that boy's family, who was very poor, he paid them a lot of money so he could pose in the picture, which was horrible and disgusting in and of itself. But he paid that family money so he could take that picture with their son. So the little boy wasn't dead. He was posing like he was dead. He was posing like the man had shot him, but it was all an illusion. It was all an illusion. People need to go back and look at that movie, The Network. And I've said this before. It came out in the late 70s. Look at The Network and see how illusions work. See how that trickery and that manipulation and spell work works. Because it shows you how even some of those Black Panther movements were part of the illusions as well. Even the Civil Rights Movement, even Black Lives Matter were a part of these illusions to manipulate people's minds and to take people off of their own spiritual course. You want to know why you're feeling, weird? You want to know why you're feeling kind of off? You want to know why you're feeling kind of detached? It's because you have been taken off of your spiritual path. You have not been connected with your spirit in a long time. Trust me, I understand it. I understand it because I had to get readjusted and realigned with myself. I'm no different than anyone else. You want to know why you're feeling kind of detached and off and just not yourself? It's because you have been sucked into this illusion. And you've taken the focus off of listening to your spirit and you're listening to people who don't have your best interest at heart. You're listening to people who are not spiritual, especially a lot of them Black men in that conscious community. They are not spiritual. They may be wizards, but they're not spiritual. Wizards are not spiritual. They're knowledgeable, but they're not spiritual. They're antichrist. See, spirit gives you discernment. Spirit gives you guidance. But we have been tricked into rejecting what spirit says and only going by what a book says. I recently purchased The Art of War by, what's this person's name? The Art of War by Sun Tzu. And basically, the book really details going into a military battle with another nation. But when I read between the lines, this book can be used, or the information in this book can be interpreted and used as a way to declare psychological warfare against an enemy. You feel what I'm saying? And there are people who know how to use this. And when I think about how Black women are treated by some Black men, not all Black men, but by some Black men, when I think about how Black women are treated, and women in general are treated by men, not just Black women, but when I think about how women are treated by men in general sometimes, I look at the tactics in this book, and I said to myself, these are the tactics that men have been using against women, Black men especially. Using these tactics against women. And it makes perfect sense. And if you really don't know how to combat it, you succumb to it. And that is the same thing on a more, on a more global scale. It's the same thing that's happening with this war on our minds, this psychological war that is being waged against us, this spiritual war that's being waged against us as spiritual people. They tell you that spiritual people are dumb, that we're stupid, that we're losers, that we're underachievers. No, what it is this: the world blesses them with temporary abundance. A lot of those people are not blessed by spirit, they're blessed by the world. When you're blessed by the spirit, it's unlimited and it's not all about money. When you're blessed by the spirit, you don't have worries of money, because what you need will be provided. But we live in an illusion. We live in an illusion that has blinded us and has created this warped reality that we live in, where we only see negativity. And if you only see negativity, then what do you think is going to happen? That's the only thing you're going to breed if you're not spiritually aware. And that is where the Christ consciousness comes in. See, Christ is able to see past the demonic illusions. See, demons have there are different levels of demons. And illusions are demons. Illusions are demons. And listen, don't take this biblically. But illusions are demonic. Those are demonic energies. And right now, a demonic game is being played with the minds of the spiritual people who are more Christ-like. And I don't mean in biblical terms, so don't get it twisted. And there's a war being waged on spiritual people. There's a war being waged. And the only way you can combat that is by creating your own reality and awakening to the fact that you've been bamboozled. And that may even mean that you have to look at the person that you've been listening to, some of these spiritual teachers. Like I said, I don't really consider myself a spiritual teacher or none of that. I'm just a guy that's having a spiritual experience like the rest of you. So I'm not a guru. I consider myself my own personal guru. You know what I'm saying? But that's because I've mastered certain things in my mind and I'm still learning. It doesn't mean that I'm better than anybody that's watching me. It doesn't mean that at all. I am not looking for gratification. I'm not looking for anything. This is just my spiritual path. This is what I'm here to do. To detail and talk about my spiritual experiences. That's it. That is it. Whether a person agrees or disagrees, I really don't give a fuck. It's just what it is. I'm not perfect. Don't want to be perfect. I'm not always nice. Sometimes I'm mean and motherfucking nasty. Okay? Because I'm operating in my true self. I'm not pretending to be someone else. I'm not mean and nasty to people who don't deserve it. You know what I mean? If you deserve it, that's the side you're going to get to. That is the side you're going to get. Especially when you present yourself or you identify yourself as a manipulative, dishonest, cutthroat type of person. That is why the spiritual path is a lonely path, and it's a lonely journey that no one can take for you. Your spiritual teacher cannot take it for you. I still see dumbass motherfucking niggas online calling somebody their spiritual teacher. Grown ass men hanging on the nutsack of other grown men. That, oh, like really, you're supposed to graduate from that. You're supposed to become your own guru, your own spiritual teacher. But you have grown ass men who are still up under that person's illusion, that person's demonic energy, calling that person their spiritual teacher, all the while having meltdowns and breakdowns on Facebook every day. And this is the person that you tried to play me for? But again, you have to understand who these people really are. You have to understand their motives. They're imperfected. No, I'm sorry. They're perfect. Y'all, I hope y'all get that. They're perfect. We're imperfect. They're perfect. Imperfection is the real beauty. Imperfection is the real beauty. Imperfection is the real divine. Imperfection is the real God. Perfection is the disease. Perfection is humanity. That is why whenever you see any movies like the Stepford Wives or anything like that, where they're trying to perfect women or perfect people, if you notice those storylines in those movies, it always ends up being something negative, or it ends up turning out to be something not so great. The outcome always ends up being bad. That's what I'm saying. Because that is what perfection does. But when you're imperfected, when you're not perfect, when you're imperfected, you walk amongst the gods. And you're immune to anything that may be thrown your way. But when you're perfect, you're fragile. When people try to find the perfect person, they will be looking until they put you in the ground or in an urn. Because there's no such thing as a perfect person. I look at these dumb motherfucking men always talking about they want the perfect. I see this a lot with men. They want the perfect woman. That's because they're antichrist. They're illusionary people. Their vision is illusionary. It's not based in reality. You got to have the perfect titties, the perfect ass, the perfect this, the perfect that. And the very same people that are looking for perfection, the very same people that are looking for perfection, they don't live up to those standards themselves. You walking around here with a motherfucking beer gut, funky breath, small, private. But you want someone to be so-called in your definition perfect, and you don't even know what perfection really is. Perfection is the true evil of the world. That's the true evil in the universe, perfection. Because if you notice, anyone who strives for perfection, usually those people have been people like Adolf Hitler. He tried to strive for perfection within the race. He wanted to eradicate all other races. He strived for perfection in white superiority. He wanted the perfect pure race, and look what happened to him. And now Germany is more integrated than ever now. Look how that worked out for him. I'm just using that as an example. There are many more things about Hitler and all that I know about, but I'm just using that as an example. When people are searching for perfection, it is a human egotistical concept to think that things are going to be perfect. Especially in the physical world. Now, maybe in the spiritual world, things may be perfect. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. But I think, again, your spiritual experience in the afterlife is shaped by who you've always been from the inception of your creation. And and listen, when I say creation, I'm being layman because we always was and we always will be. And I'm not talking about your physical existence. I'm talking about what you experience when you die and go into the afterlife is predicated upon who you have always been as a spiritual being having a human experience. Meaning, what you experience in the afterlife is based upon your spiritual being, period, and who you are, period. Everybody doesn't have the same experience. When you listen to various afterlife experiences or near death experiences, most of those people have different experiences. It's simply a question of what is your spirit, who you really are. And that is what we really should be focusing on. If you want to say we as a collective and all that, we should be focusing on our own individual spirit and our own individual spiritual path. For some people, that may be Christianity. But what you don't have the right to do is tell other people that they need to follow your path because that is what gets you fucked up. That's what gets you fucked up. And I see all of these deranged people online, these deranged Christians telling people the only way is Jesus Christ and you're going to go to hell and all that stuff. There was a story of a woman who was a Catholic and she was a devout Catholic and she followed every rule and every ritual the way they were supposed to go within Catholicism. And she had a near death experience and she went to hell. And it wasn't fire and brimstone. She went into different states of consciousness and they were all hell experiences with the exception of one. And she was absolutely mortified because she was a practicing Catholic. She had been in Catholicism for forever. She was a devout Catholic. So I don't want to hear that motherfucking shit. And if this offends you, then it just offends you. I'm not trying to offend anyone. You can follow whatever path you want. But the object is to broaden your horizons or broaden your spectrum within that particular path and understand what it really means. Because if you really, really understood what Christianity was all about, you would know that Jesus and Lucifer are really the same person. Jesus and Lucifer are the same person. God and the devil are the same person. And it makes perfect sense. You know? But we're under a hypnotic illusion. And we're being told what we should believe, what we should worship, who we should worship, what we should like. When you, in actuality, you shouldn't be worshiping anyone or any being outside of yourself. You're supposed to you're supposed to acknowledge the God within you. You're supposed to appreciate and respect and honor the God within you. And that is when you will see true changes and true manifestation in your life. Not about money, but just understanding who you are as a divine person having a human experience. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Go take your vitamin B12. And I hope everyone has a blessed day. And remember this. Just remember, don't let the illusion make you. You make the illusion do what you wanted to do. Okay? Anyway, that's all I have to say. Thank you.